and I'm back with you for another late night opinion. You know, watching Mark Thompson go off on that Trump voter was wonderful and entertaining, but it was a little harsh.
You're an idiot.
I mean, what were the voters' options? I guess he should have just stayed home.
The tariffs, insanely inflationary, and just a chance for him to shake down different nations, nation by nation. And
The correct move was to vote for Stein. And you may say that that's a wasted vote because she had no chance. Well, you might be right, this may be true, but if everyone has that attitude, nothing will ever change. And it never does or will. Harris would have won if she stayed on the economic message, even though she couldn't pronounce price gouging. She said price gauging. And I probably would have voted her despite the genocide that she endorsed and Blinken and Biden paid for. Now, Harris would have been a billion times better than Trump because she would have done nothing to help the mass of people. But also she would have done nothing in terms of foreign policy. She wouldn't have invaded nor threatened to invade the world, stolen billions, thrown kids in concentration camps to eat sandwiches with worms, nor all the other dumbass and evil deeds Trump has done. In Trump's first term, he was handcuffed by quasi-reasonable people in his cabinet and his own incompetence. But the idea that Trump was anti-war was always preposterous. People somehow forgot that he assassinated Iran's top general Soleimani, who was also lured to Iraq to engage in diplomacy. Truly disgusting. He also dropped the mother of all bombs in Syria, and as we move over here, increased drone strikes tenfold. The people that I really have contempt for are the ones who voted for Hillary Clinton and Biden in the primary against Sanders. The Sanders campaign was the last chance for the country to turn before it hit the iceberg. However, former New York Times correspondent and Ralph Nader speechwriter Chris Hedges said the Democrats would have never let Sanders become the nominee anyway. Who knows? And I do have a tendency to believe what Hedges says because he's been pretty much right about everything else. Thank you.
And that's not conjecture. I was with Bernie on the climate march in New York. I think it was 2014. I was with Naomi Klein and Bill McKibben and Shama Sawant. And before the event began, Shama, who's a fireball, was just pushing Bernie to run as an independent. And Bernie finally, exasperated, said, I don't want to end up like Ralph Nader. And as a caveat, I'm very close to Ralph. I was a speechwriter when he ran. Well, that's kind of said it all. In other words, he knew that if he stepped outside and challenged the Democratic Party, they would destroy him the same way they destroyed Nader. And he didn't want to take that risk. So Occupy changed the language, not just of the Sanders campaign, but just changed the language by which we speak about the rise of this oligarchy and the worst kind of social inequality in American history. And yes, Bernie co-opted it. And to be fair to Bernie, I think Bernie's commitment to the working class is real. I don't think like a figure like John Edwards, would use that language, but has never shown any real interest never showed any interest in the working class. But I think the commitment is real. But Bernie stops at that line. He won't go after the Democrats. He, of course, caucused with the Democrats. Remember, he campaigned for Bill Clinton in 1996.
I wanted Bernie Sanders to start a third-party movement or some type of third-party organization. I felt like he has the name recognition to do it, and he had a lot of supporters, and he chose not to do that. He said that if he lost, he would still be outside with his people, with his movement. And I feel like you can't just, well, apparently, I guess you can, but I feel like you shouldn't just start a movement and say, I'm starting a revolution here, and then kind of just walk away from it and say, okay, I lost, vote for Joe Biden. So I want to get your opinion. Like, do you know why you think he did not try to start some type of third party organization?
Well, for that reason, that he would have been finished. I mean, I worked for Nader. Ralph Nader had name recognition. Certainly, a couple decades ago, was equal to, perhaps even greater than, the name recognition of Bernie Sanders. And they destroyed Ralph. They turned him into a pariah. I was at Cornel West and I were with unhoused people who marched on the appropriately named Wells Fargo Center in 2016, several thousand people. And it was when Bernie was endorsing Clinton, and his delegates walked out, and they were of the convention hall, were chanting, what does democracy look like? This is what democracy looked like. And Bernie didn't join them. And Cornell, who's prescient about everything, said, Bernie's missed his historical moment. I think that's right. But Bernie just lacks the political courage, and has always lacked the political courage.
Do you think that he should run in he has hinted that if Joe Biden doesn't run in 2024, that he's entertaining running again in 2024. Do you think that he should do that?
Democrats will never allow Bernie Sanders to be the nominee, ever. And history has proven that. I mean, they not only used the DNC as a weapon against him, Obama, you remember Biden started the primaries. He was a disaster. Nobody wanted him. And then the Democratic Party found their savior in Michael Bloomberg, of all people, a billionaire who, 1 week is a Republican and the next week is a Democrat. That didn't work. And then Obama had to get everyone to drop out. The Democrats, I mean, they stole the Nevada caucus. I mean, they disenfranchised voters, independent voters, especially because they tend to be young and they tend to vote. There were a lot of dirty tricks that the Democrats used. They'll never allow him to be the nominee. It's impossible.
I love you. You're so good.
Billionaire Lives Matter is on TikTok and YouTube. Please subscribe, follow, and share. Also subscribe to Mark Thompson,